Hello, welcome to the Sticky Thoughts podcast. Here we talk about thoughts that stuck with us. We get honest, get curious, and we try not to spiral, but no promises. We are your hosts. This is Kajal Singh.
And I am Smriti Kamath, and on this podcast, we are showing up not as psychologists but as friends who are also psychologists.
So recently, this thought randomly crossed my mind, and I texted Smriti that do you think support privilege is a thing, like a caste privilege or class privilege? And prompted that message as a topic of discussion that we could have on the podcast. And she answered with, yes, it is. I think we would like a more elaborate answer of that, Smriti.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I figured that she texted that as a podcast topic, but at the same time, it was a question. So I answered it. And yeah, I think that absolutely when I think of social support, I guess it definitely is a privilege. I don't think we talk about it a lot, but not everybody has the same kind of a support system. Not everybody even has a support system. And we overlook how much of a difference that can make in our life. I think people who have a support system kind of just take it for granted and something that okay, yeah, this is something that everybody has. So that's what comes to mind, because when you asked me that question, I mean, it wasn't a question to me, it was a discussion for the episode. But when I read that question, I immediately felt ki, yeah, I mean, it determines so many things in our life. How connected we are, if we have somebody to reach out to, how we can handle certain situations, how much these situations impact us, so how much we can move forward, how resilient we are, even how quickly we can bounce back because we have this net of a good support system. So, what was going on for you when you asked this question? Did you feel like you already had an answer?
I think I did already have an answer. I think what came up for me was that this privilege is not talked about. This privilege is not acknowledged around in the world. I don't think I've ever heard somebody talk about it. We have heard it in chunks. Like we discussed earlier, that we hear people saying that, oh, you're so lucky that you have a supportive family or a really nice friend who take care of you, or a aunt or a grandfather, something like that. I think we've heard it in bits and pieces at places, but it is not discussed as importantly as a thing like caste privilege or, financial privilege that we all usually do hear people talk about. But I think today, when people are really isolating, when people are really struggling to find their own clan, own people, I think support system is really a thing that should be discussed now. With the kids that I work with at my workplace, a lot of times I catch myself going in with this thought ki, oh, when she's saying that she has a mother and a family where everybody is healthy, most of them are earning, etc., how much ever. So that would mean that they have a support system. But then I learned that the relationship that they have with their family is not the best. It is constrained and they are not available at home. The kid is not able to discuss their struggles or their confusion or just what's going on, with them growing up in their growing years. They're just not able to share with their family. The family is just not available for it. Maybe emotionally, maybe financially, maybe just actually physically, they are just not available. So, having a family or siblings, a huge, large family does not mean that you have the support system. It does not need to mean that you have a support system. Support system would actually be these set of people where you can go to when you are really struggling, when you want to be held, or when you want to be, lifted up. These were the thoughts that were coming to me. I don't know. I just felt the support system, this whole phenomena was not given as importance as I thought it should be given.
So I think some things we should talk about in this episode and discuss is key. First of all, where does it all begin? Where does it start? Where does support system actually start being a privilege? How it can be a privilege or something that holds you back in the course of your life, as well as what maybe we can do to kind of bridge the gap if we are somebody who does not have a very good support system right now. What can we do to bridge that gap and maybe build or try to build a support system, a community for ourselves?
आई थिंक द प्रिविलेजेस, तो ये तो ठीक है, मतलब डायरेक्ट प्रिविलेज भी है। डायरेक्ट प्रिविलेज तो यही है ना जो यू सेड, रेजिलियंस वगैरह। इनडायरेक्ट प्रिविलेज होता है व्हेन यू आर एबल टू टेक रिस्क्स, इमोशनल रिस्क्स, लीविंग अ जॉब। इट्स नॉट जस्ट अबाउट हैविंग अ फाइनेंशियल प्रिविलेज, इट्स आल्सो अबाउट हैविंग दैट सपोर्ट सिस्टम इन योर फैमिली कि दे विल नॉट बी पेस्टरिंग यू कि भाई व्हाई डोंट यू हैव अ जॉब, oh you think you can pull this off, a business of your own, you know, sort of that. You would need a good support system when you are trying to say change something in your life, even when it's about marriages, you want to wed outside of your caste or outside of your religion, वहां पे भी you would need a lot of support system, because it's not just कि oh we are supporting this marriage, but of course when you marry somebody and you are not familiar with their culture, religion, their way of being, it is going to be a little bit difficult after the marriage, coming in terms with all of that, getting used to all of that. And that's the time you need your support system. You just don't need the support to, हाँ ठीक है, permission for the marriage, but then
Mm.
also go into the marriage, you would need that support system, which is hopefully your partner as well, but then also maybe your friends or your family, you know, outside of
Mm.
that marriage to support you
Mm.
through the marriage. Let's try to understand what privilege is. Privilege is the extra benefit that we have over other people, where we have something that they don't and we benefit from it. It helps us through the course of our lives in many different ways. And privilege is also a lot of times something that you're born with. And because your primary support system does a lot of time include your immediate family, your parents, and of course, if you are born to a set of parents who actually take care of you, who actually try to understand you, hold you during difficult times, push you to overcome challenges, and yeah, just who are just there for you, then you are born to this privilege, and it does help you, benefit you through really a lot of the discourse of your life.
And it's also that when you say that, the privilege of support system when you are born into it can look like, as you mentioned, the parents as well as the community you are born in and as well as the family relations. Like, for example, were you a planned child? Were you not a planned child? That's gonna impact how your parents are treating you, how many siblings you have, if your parents are caring for everybody the same way. So, like all privileges, all of these are very interconnected. Like, for example, if you have class privilege, maybe your parents can afford to spend more time with you. But of course, you might have the best parents in the world, but if you have financial constraints, then maybe both of them are going to work and you are still gonna not have as much of a privilege of having your parents around like somebody who might. So there's already key you might have a set of parents who are supportive, who are nice, who want to care for you, but can't be there. And there's also parents that maybe the pregnancy wasn't very planned, the child wasn't very planned, or maybe parents who do not have all the right tools. Maybe a lot of things that have been passed on to them are being passed down. So maybe a lot of generational patterns haven't been broken there. So you're not going to have as much of a support system, like a lot of comfort that you can find in your parents if that is the case. And as we have discussed in some previous episodes, your childhood shapes a lot of the rest of your life because it impacts how you're going to react to things, how you're going to respond to things, how you think about things, your whole belief system. So, when you have good caring parents who can also be around, that's like, of course, the most privilege you can have. Then, if you have nice parents who are caring but can't be around, that's again more privilege you have than somebody whose parents aren't very caring about them. And then also comes in the next layer is family, extended family. Are they around? Are they not around? Is everybody fighting with each other? Is everybody in good terms? If everybody's in good terms, then of course your parents have a whole village to look after you. So there's a lot of support. Everybody can help each other out. Of course, if the same family is away, then you can't really count on them. You don't have that extra support. And it also matters what community you are born into. If there is a sense of community among you, or if your family unit is no longer part of the community, something like that. So that also impacts how much support you have just growing up there. to that set of parents in that family, in that community. So right off the back, you are kind of either you have a little bit more benefit than others or you have a little bit less. And all of that is already while you're just in the womb, already there or already not there.
That is so true, Smriti. Being born with this privilege helps you, benefits you to also build it further. Because when you're
Mm.
born with a good support system and you always have known the support system, you know how it looks, how it feels, and how to maybe also reciprocate it, is when you're also able to really build it further quite easily with your friends and all the other people that you might meet later in your life.
That is so true.
Because when you're not born with this, I think a lot of your time and effort would go in discovering what a support system is and
Yeah.
understanding it. And when people with this privilege, if they are, going out in the world just assuming that everybody has this privilege, is, I think, a further strike for the people who are not born with this privilege, because they would also think ki it's something that you are born with and then you can't do anything about it later.
Yeah. Like, for example, when you said ki when you are born into a family or with parents who have maybe healthy communication patterns or something like that, then you're gonna learn that from them and then you can immediately use that. As opposed to somebody who already might feel behind in not knowing how to communicate, not knowing how to express themselves, because maybe even if they want to, it's not welcome in their surrounding. So even when they do go further on ahead in their life and maybe they do find a better support system, maybe they find friends, they find a partner who they can communicate to, now they don't have the language to do that and you have to start from scratch. You have to make all of those mistakes, you will hurt each other in the process and all of that, but you have to learn that from scratch, and that is a privilege that people with more healthy communication styles have. Ki
Yeah.
they are gonna have lesser things to learn. It's already
Exactly.
there. The foundation is set.
Yes, exactly. The foundation is set. Otherwise, I think if you meet somebody also who does not have a support system and who's still figuring it out along with you, then it's going to be really difficult, I believe.
Hmm.
It's going to be even more difficult. It's going to need even more time and effort and unlearning, learning, and then scratching everything out and then starting again. It's going to be a lot
Hmm.
of work, and that does hold you back in so many ways we can't even imagine. I think it starts from being able to choose your subjects in school. If you would be able to take that risk of choosing something unconventional that was not chosen, by everybody else in your family. Because again, it's not just about the permission to, okay, theek hai, you choose whatever you want to choose, but it's also ki if I fail, matlab, would you support me still? I would still need
Hmm.
hands to support it. It doesn't always happen. Keep, oh, I know that I like the subject and I am going to go for it and I'm going to ace it. It's also, I'm curious. I want to learn about this subject. I want to learn about this topic and I want to see how it makes me feel, how I feel about it. And if I want to, do something with it. Kyuki, if I fail, if I decide ki, oh, this is not for me, will I still be supported? Or will I be, pulled down? Or will I be held accountable in a way ki, you made that choice, now you deal with the consequences. But, just somebody to hold you through it. ठीक है, okay, कि ये नहीं हुआ, ठीक है, you explored, good. Now you know, and now you can go for something else that could, bring something to you.
Exactly. So this choice again comes, some people have that background and safety net, even when it comes to the financial position, to take that kind of a risk. And it also helps when your parents or your friends are there to support you instead of kind of cursing you. Ki, why have you made such a stupid decision or something like that, you know? So that ability to take risk is not extended to everybody. And at the same time, we also need to look at how support system is not just people who are emotionally there for you, but also there for you financially. If you need help, they can help out, as well as people who can help you with more practical things, like help you do something or teach you how to do something. So for example, a lot of times how to handle finances is something that is passed on by the father. I think that even women should be more equipped with the whole information about finances. But right now, as it is, fathers usually pass it down. So if, for example, you do not have a good relationship with your father, then you would be lacking in that area. Maybe you might not know how to do your finances. So that's a very practical thing that is also passed down by your support system. Or do you have somebody else in your support system, like your family or community, who can teach you those things, teach you how to cook, teach you how to look after yourself? So those things are also practical. And of course, for example, if your family unit, like your parents and you, maybe you fell short somewhere, maybe you lost money or something, do you have family or extended family or family friends who can support you even financially, maybe give you a place to stay at? So all of that. And for example, do you have a good enough home environment that you can just stay with your parents while you figure your life out? For example, in your 20s, okay? In India, though, it is very normal to live with your parents. But I think the big conflict that comes up is when you can't live with your parents because you feel like the environment at home is so suffocating that you feel like you want to move out or you want to go somewhere. So, do you have the privilege of having a home environment where you can live with your parents, where you can live with your parents without the emotional burden of it? And of course, you're saving up on a lot of money by living with your family. So, that is also a privilege that comes with having a support system like that. And three areas where support system can be a privilege is your friend circle, your colleagues, your workplace environment, as well as maybe your life partner moving forward, or if you're in a relationship right now, or the person you would marry, which may be the person you spend most of your time with. So, okay, when it comes to your friend circle, how have you noticed this privilege work out or develop, work out? What do you think?
I think in the practical aspect, a lot of my friends have supported me getting through college, getting through masters. Of course, you need your friends. You have some core friends that you have from a long time. They also help you with, important life decisions that you want to make, life changing decisions that you want to make, or even also some small decisions about how to dress up, or how to go for an interview, or how to figure what you actually like, what you don't like in terms of career, in terms of culture, in terms of, people. I think that
Mm.
is something that your friends bring in your life. And it's also quite visible, when you are sitting in a group and some people are already a part of a smaller group. In the group, they already have a privilege. Do you sense that? Does it make sense? You already have a privilege, that you already know each other, that you already are going to support. And when you come in that group, and so we have one common topic of discussion, you know that your friends are going to back you up. You know that your friends will make sure that you are heard in the group, and that they will also maybe correct you, support you wherever you need,
Mm-hmm.
and also maybe ground you, at times when that needs to be done. So that is another place where privilege of support system in aspect of friendship comes in. Right now, practically here, the fact that I have you in my support system is the reason that we are able to do this podcast together, because this is super scary. I am not the person who would want to talk on camera. Yeah, and it is risky, and I'm putting so much effort. You are putting so much time and effort in this. It's not easy. I mean, we also risk ourselves, to the public eye, because what if we say something and what if we are trolled about it? So I know that you will take care of me there, and I will always be there for you too,
Yeah.
support you through this. Or I know that you will be there for me to support whole idea of us that we've started together, and then also me. You will hold us.
Mm.
So that is a privilege that I have, because I'm able to do this with a friend. And I think it would have been very difficult if you were not part of my support system here,
Mm.
in this podcast. If you were not actually helping me, with my articulation, with the topics, with how we go forward, with the editing, you bring so much in. And I am blessed with that. So I think, yeah, that is one more way that privilege of having support system in my friends has helped me do better in life.
Very true. And I think that the whole how support system in the form of your friends can be a privilege hits extra close to home is because in 11th and 12th, I was in an integrated coaching thing for NEET. So it was like this NEET preparation center, and it was also a college, but not college in the traditional sense at all. Coaching centers have such a bleak environment for anybody to make friends or learn social skills or interact with each other. It's a very competitive environment. So after that, I had switched out in bachelor's. I went took psychology, bachelor's in psychology, and then is when it was a more open college environment again, a normal college again, and that. After 1 year, though, there was lockdown. So that's a different thing altogether. But that 1 year also, I couldn't. I was really trying and I was trying to put myself out there, but I could sense that I was behind already because everybody had already experienced this kind of a college life for 2 years. And I was late to the party. People maybe already had friends in the same college or they knew how to be. And I was for 2 years in an environment where you are wasting time if you are talking. If you're doing anything rather than studying, it was frowned upon by the teachers, by the students, everybody. Socializing was not really seen as a good thing. It was like this bad thing that you're doing. When I see that and when I see that difference, I don't know, maybe there were people there also who developed healthy friendships that have maybe carried forward. I don't know. But when I think of my experience, I definitely think it was definitely a privilege that I did not have. And then I had to spend a lot of time and effort to learn how to make friends and try to put myself out there extra to make friends and learn how to make friends all over again in that process. And I though came out of it, like I came out of that environment. I left that bubble and I joined a normal college after that. But I also think about people who may have not had the chance to do that. So then again, first of all, like we talked about, if you are from a family who does not have healthy communication patterns and all that, you are already gonna have less of a privilege to make friends. And on top of that, if you're also not in a very healthy environment that is gonna be conducive to you socializing properly and learning how to make friends and all of that, that privilege is also kind of taken away from you, which is a privilege that you can have again. So that is also taken away. And then you again are a little bit more behind. You have lesser benefits than the rest of people. And of course, the practical sense that you talked about, helping each other out is also there that you don't get help with. And everybody's on their own, managing their own stuff. So, yeah, that's that. And comparing that with now, and I'm so grateful that I met you and I made this friendship a very unexpected privilege that I stumbled upon that, I made this friendship that is really nice. And I mean, I think that I
Thanks for
almost
describing our friendship
learned.
as nice, Smriti.
This is just me being bad with my vocabulary.
Go on.
So I was,
Describe our
yeah.
friendship as nice and then move on.
No, I was saying, I guess I even talked about it in the episode about adult friendships. But because of this whole 11th and 12th experience and then the lockdown and friendships were, I was still learning how to make friends and trying to feel comfortable in friendships. But it was not a very, I don't know, I think I still felt like I was terrible with being myself in friendships, or I don't know how friendships work. I feel like that's what came to me again and again. I don't know how friendships are supposed to work. Like, where is the line? What do I do? What is right? What is wrong? Is there a right or wrong? How do we decide it? Do we have a conversation and meeting, decide what's right or wrong? So after all of that, when I did go to masters and then Kajal and I became friends, I think that was a very big. I think I even had a whole breakdown in one of the classes where Kajal was comforting me through that. I don't think I said any words. I don't think I said why I was crying at all. But I was crying because I felt like I was getting close to Kajal and it felt like I don't know if this is normal. I don't know how this is gonna end. I don't know if it's gonna go well. And I think over the course of, I think 3 years now, I think this is the closest friendship I have been able to develop. And I think that it has healed me in so many ways. And this is a privilege. And I also am aware that this is not a privilege that everybody has. And not everybody has a friend like this. If circumstances would have been slightly different, I wouldn't have a friend like Kajal. And that would have not been great, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
So exactly. So that's how friendships are a privilege because they help you out a lot. They help you heal, they help you learn how relationships work. There's the whole practical way of it, of course, also in addition to the emotional aspect. Sometimes, I mean, this is not something that I experienced because I was living with family. I had the privilege of living with family during masters, but I did see everybody make their own tiny communities, friendships, and everybody who was living by themselves in through masters, I saw how they were helping each other out, cooking for each other, or living together, cooking together, and all of that, or taking turns with chores and all that. So I saw how all of that played out as well. And of course, if you have a roommate that is your friend, then of course that's also a privilege.
But then I would not be where I am if it were not for the
Mm.
friendships that I've had.
Mm. Yeah.
I think colleagues also bring so much because the job that I have right now is my first actual job, is my first full-time job. I work in an NGO, but the field that I work in is an institution where a lot of other people work. So if it were not for the colleagues that I have, the support that I have from my colleague, I would not be able to survive in that environment because I do see people from other NGOs working over there who only come just themselves while we have a team. So of course I
Mm.
have a upper hand there. Of course I am taken more seriously. I can make more mistakes and still be able to go on because my colleague will back me up, and we can also balance the workload. Sometimes I can work a little more so that they can relax when they need it, and vice versa. So if it were not for the colleagues, then I would not be able to do the job that I really love doing because I would not know how to survive in that environment. Because I would not know what to do. Only when they have been there for some time before me is helpful, and only when the new people come in my team, and when I'm able to share my experience with them, is when I'm also able to realize what I have learned so far and how much further I need to go. I would really like to mention that it is not just about the workplace and just with the career or work that they help you with, because everything is intertwined, Smriti. We all know that ki you can't be ekdam professional and ekdam personal, and you can't really separate the two because it's not separated. You are just one person, right? Living in all these places. So they do also hold you when you are going through something emotionally, and when you also may be struggling financially, because they can also help you build your case with your boss, maybe when you're trying to get a promotion, things like that. So they also do all of that. So I think, yeah.
Exactly.
And when I think of people who do not have that kind of support, I do see that they really struggle. They really struggle to get through the day.
Hmm. And
Into
there's a
how?
lot of horror stories. There's a lot of horror stories about workplace. So it's a big privilege to have a safe, good workplace environment. And when you build that support system within your workplace, it's not something that everybody has. And your workplace is the place where you spend majority of your time of the day, 8 hours or more or so. So it really matters. If you do have a support system there, then your mental well-being is gonna be a lot better. And yeah, you're gonna be able to balance things a lot better, which is definitely a privilege. And now we also come on to the last aspect that we're going to talk about in the areas of support systems that we have is, the life partner that we may choose for ourselves, the relationships we are in. I mean, the romantic relationships. So in that way, I think this is a very intimate bond that we have, and this is one of the people that is possibly the closest to you and is going to be there for you. It's kind of like this mutual bond of taking care of each other, and especially in India, because of the arranged marriages and sometimes a lot of people not having the choice to pick who they want to marry or having to settle for someone. I think that it's also a very big privilege when you have the choice to, first of all, select who you want to be with, and at the same time, if that person has healthy communication patterns, or if the relationship is healthy and they are supportive, they are there for you in the ways that you need. I think that's a very big privilege because then this person might be the closest to you. You might spend a lot of time with them. So, because you're in that bond, that is also something I realized that not everybody has. And that is a pretty big deal. Especially after marriage, there are a lot of conversations about how things change, how you kind of have to adhere to maybe their family standards or the standards that your partner sets. your partner has to adhere to standards that maybe you set for them. Things like that end up happening. And in that way, it can be really helpful to have somebody or like end up with somebody who is understanding if they are also ending up with somebody who is understanding them. So that whole sphere of the rest of your life can be a lot smoother. I think when I think about men, I think it can be a really big privilege when you end up with a partner who allows you to express your emotions, is there for you, allows you to be vulnerable. I think for women, it's really important that you have some financial freedom, you are allowed to work, you are allowed to fend for yourself, you are not completely controlled and restricted, and you have the ability to choose what you want to do with your life. So, those are some things that come to my mind when I think of privilege when it exists with inside marriages or relationships, romantic relationships.
Makes total sense because if you're talking about life after marriage and when you have your partner as your support system, it really helps. It really helps you grow in different aspects of your life. Even when marriage is a huge change in your life, so when having your life partner as a support system really gives you strength and resilience to do so much in your life. Imagine not having them as a support system. Then you would have to find ways to get adjusted to somebody else's house or somebody else's ways. If you choose to not adjust to their ways, then you might be, left alone with your own ways. And that could also create constraints in your relationship. When you don't have their support, then you might not be able to take risks in your career, in your friendships, in little things like food, clothing, etc. So if you go either ways, if you just give in to their ways, then you would maybe dress as they are telling you to, or they want you to make friends with people only they want you to do only certain things that they are okay with you doing. And if you go the other way, where you have decided, ki, okay, I will do whatever I want to do, then you might not be able to build a relationship here, which maybe, matlab, definitely would want to question that relationship that you're trying to build with this person. But so if you don't have that as a support system, then it's going to be really difficult. And when you do, imagine all of these areas are way
Mm.
smoother for sure because it's not about winning in every aspect, but it would mean having the support to take the risks, to make the choices, fail, try again, give up, choose something else, all of that. And with
Yeah.
that, you would get so much if your partner is supportive in terms of finance, emotions, and also, yeah, practical support. Because I think you do learn a lot from your partner also. Like how you said that, say, financial understanding or planning could be given to you from your father, it could also be given to you from your partner. And not just financial, maybe understanding, but also maybe with something else, maybe something emotions related, something just management related, something just organizing related, something just, how to build a home, how to keep a home, how to keep a kitchen, how to keep a bathroom, how to take care of your gadgets, how to take care of your parents, learning a new way to take care of your parents, learning a new way to take care of
Mm.
siblings and your friendships. So all of that
Yeah.
can be, part of all this exchange that you would have if you have your partner as a support system.
Yeah, very true. So I think lastly, to conclude, we should also talk about what can we maybe do. If, for example, you heard through the entire podcast and now you are kind of like, okay, maybe I think maybe I have some of these privileges when it comes to support system, but somewhere I also lack. So what can we do to maybe improve the amount of support we have? So the first thing is always to identify, acknowledge that you do not have as much privilege as others, so that you know for yourself that the stage isn't equal. The starting line hasn't been equal for you and your peers. So before you compare yourself, maybe feel bad about yourself, the first step is to acknowledge that I haven't had support in these areas, and that is adding to me being behind. And of course, you're going to do something about it. But the first thing is to acknowledge and identify it so that you don't feel bad about yourself for not having this kind of a thing that maybe others do. Second thing is identifying which areas do you feel like you feel behind in. For example, is it family? Do you feel like, you don't have the most supporting family? Do you feel like you don't have friends at the moment? What is it? Where do you feel like you are lacking the support? Where do you need more support? What kind of support do you need? So, for example, if your family hasn't been the best, or maybe they aren't very close to you, or they don't live close to you, one thing is, the concept of chosen families where you can build family like bonds even outside. It doesn't, you don't just have to be connected by blood for it to be your family, but maybe people who have had similar experiences to you, maybe really close friends, they can all be your chosen family, and you can develop bonds like that by investing your time in them more. The third thing is to identify where you may be lacking. Like, for example, that we discussed how having a family or having parents who teach you healthy communication patterns really like sets you up for success in relationships earlier on as well. So maybe if we haven't had that, we might have some patterns that may be not working in our favor. Like, for example, maybe I don't know how to communicate my feelings. Maybe I don't know how to keep the conversation going. Maybe I don't know how to be curious about other people. Maybe I don't know how to try to meet the needs of other people or help somebody out, how to create that bond. Maybe I get aggressive when I'm stressed, or I take that aggression out on the other person. Maybe I'm very irritable. So you need to first identify what it is you're doing that may be holding you back from possible connections you can make with people, and you have to see what you can do. Of course, you can seek professional support in this process to try to learn better social skills, to improve your relationship patterns, to improve your anger management, things like that. But the important thing is to work on them once you identify these things, so that it's smoother when you're trying to connect with other people, and so that you also attract more positive relationships, people that are good for you. And of course, the thing is to put yourself out there and know that a lot of healing also happens within relationships. There's only so much healing you can do outside of relationships by yourself. You are going to have to put yourself out there, find out the things that are happening around you in your city, or if there's any community gatherings, or if there's any hobby clubs, if there's any book clubs, if there's just festivals happening that you can join in on, any community spaces that you can be a part of. If you're in a college, then maybe joining the committees there, going and being an active member, talking to more people, putting yourself out there. Remember that it is unfair that you're kind of behind and you don't have that much of a privilege when it comes to these things, but also know that you can create that for yourself, and I think there's power in that. And of course, if you are somebody who does have more privilege in these areas, if you have better support systems, and maybe you are in these community spaces where you see somebody who's trying to make friends or is trying to put themselves out there. So, of course, if you see somebody like that, do go try to encourage their effort, maybe get to know them, just try to help out in whatever way you can.
Yeah, true. At the same time, really want to bring in this example which just crossed my mind, that at places where we maybe make a quick judgment about other people for why they are not choosing to do what they want to do, why they are not choosing a career for themselves, why they are not choosing to say no at places that I would really want to say no, or I would really actually say no. I think those are the places where we could maybe pause and think and acknowledge the privilege that we have had, and maybe which other people might not have.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me, what was your
And
biggest thought on the episode?
I think the stickiest thought for me is kind of this discussion that we were having off camera actually about this episode in the middle of recording. But where we figured out how, when it comes to different other kinds of privileges, of course, what can be done or what should be done lies more at the hand of the people who have the privilege. Like, for example, the onus of what should be done in case of caste should lie with people who have caste privilege. They should be the ones taking action. With people who have class privilege, they have more of a power to do something about it. So things like that. But it came up how, in the case of this kind of a privilege where it's about support system, that might not always be the case. Like maybe people who are more blessed with better support systems, maybe they can organize spaces or create spaces where people can meet and all of that, but they can't always help out in the same way or the same capacity, because we're talking about relationships here. So it comes down to a very individual level. And even though we are not born with this, we may not be born with the best of the privileges when it comes to support system, unfortunately, or maybe, there's also power in that, but at the same time, also unfortunately, it kind of the onus of it comes down to us. Ki even though we did not cause it, we are responsible now to maybe create better support systems, learn how to make friends, learn how to put yourself out there, and do all of that work, which is a little bit unfair, but then we kind of have to do it for ourselves, because nobody can kind of completely do it for us. We are gonna have to learn.
Yeah, we're going to have to start somewhere.
Mm. And okay, what was the stickiest thought for you, Kajal?
Since this topic is very, I would say, nascent for us to, discuss, we did not know how this would go. We did not have any structure. We hadn't even planned to shoot this episode today. So we didn't know until couple hours ago that we are shooting this episode. So what I had in my mind was just family, parents, immediate family, etc. But when we started discussing friendship, which is such a huge part of support system, it is so huge because it grounded me into realizing ki, oh my god, ki friendship has been my biggest support system. And I have been privileged with such great friendships in my lifetime. And when we talk about the onus falling upon the underprivileged who is not born with the support system that all of us deserve, friendship is where we can actually build it. The friendships that heal you, that support you through difficult decisions and the fun life decisions is मतलब, it really changes your life, really helps you build that support system for yourself so that you can also build that for others. Now I think, yeah, the friendship part of it was the stickiest thought for me in this episode.
Okay. So, on that note, please let us know what the stickiest thought was for you from this episode. You can let us know in our email, in our DM on Instagram, or even the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. And try to take this moment to think about one relationship, any kind in your life that you are grateful for. Maybe send them a message saying how you appreciate them, everything that they do for you. And if you feel like maybe you realize that you kind of need to build more relationships, then take this moment to kind of think about the next step you can take, where you can go put yourself out there, meet people. You got this. And we hope you have a really nice weekend. And yeah,
Have
tada,
fun.
bye bye. See you.
Bye. Thank you.